And this is called Mamala Kolomen, a revelation that encloses itself in the whole creation and in every detail of the creation, in every person and in the limbs of the person. The vision in the eyes, the hearing in the ears, every section, every unit receives its sustenance, its energy. And the Alter Rebbe goes on for pages discussing this inyan. Finally, by the end, almost the end of the discourse, he mentions the second step, a different step, and that is being involved in Chassidus, how Chassidus explains different things. For example, the Chassidus explains the sanctuary. Chassidus explains the menorah in the Beis HaMikdash. Chassidus explains leprosy. Chassidus explains phylacteries and its straps. Chassidus explains sukkah, lulav, esrik, all the different things. So the Alter Rebbe says, this does not relate so much in an obvious way to showing the oneness of the Almighty as the first step, which is showing the infinite of the Almighty. When we speak about the infinite revelation, this shows that the Almighty is one, and everything else just a ray of the Almighty. So, in the second step, it is basically, Chassidus explains, enhances, gives a deeper insight in different topics or different commandments that we learned in the Torah. But it's not stressing so much the state of nullification to the Almighty. What then does it do? It gives a pleasure to a person. A person derives a pleasure. A person gets excited. Give a look what the menorah means on a spiritual level. Give a look what as the Alter Rebbe explains, what does the menorah mean on a spiritual level? The 7 different groups of souls that are being illuminated by Aaron. What does it mean, sukkah? Sukkah means that the Almighty embraces us. What does it mean, lulav? Why lulav? Lulav is basically a what is it in English? A palm. Yeah. So the palm is basically, they all grow together. The leaves grow together, and all the different kinds that are used for the lulav and esrik and the willow and the adasim, everything together. All of that together is basically express oneness. They all express oneness because they all grow in unison. So Chassidus explains, why is it that we use them? Because they express oneness. Why do they in a physical sense express oneness? Is because they are experiencing a greater spiritual revelation that expresses oneness. And therefore it is expressed in a physical state. And that is why they're used. So actually, in a sense, it's also expressing oneness.
What do you mean hadas and aravos? Why do
the leaves, they're all.
Oh, because they're all.
Yeah, they all grow. They grow together in one stem. The adasim grow 3 in 1. And the aravos grow together in groups. And the esri grows over a period of 1 or 3 years. It has to go through a whole season, at least.
Yeah.
And not only is to go through a whole season, not only that it endures the season, it grows from all the opposite seasons together. From winter and summer, fall and spring, everyone contributes to the growth of the esrik. So this shows the real oneness, the unity, how everything contributes, not like one contradicts the other. So basically, in a sense, it does show oneness and bittul to Hashem. But what the Alter Rebbe is saying over here is that the concentration, when the Hasidic masters would explain a certain mitzvah, they would explain the mitzvah just in the sense of what that mitzvah means on a higher level, but not really driving to the conclusion or to the fact that how a person should want to become closer to the Almighty. That's a subject for itself, as mentioned earlier. So this second step is basically concentrating and giving showing an insight and illuminate and actually enlightening a person when a person realizes, what this mitzvah means according to Chassidus. It gives an inspiration to a person. It gives a person a deeper insight of how he's connected to the Almighty, but not concentrating so much on the idea that everything is nothing and he has to connect to the Almighty. For example, the word mitzvah. Chassidus explains, mitzvah in English means a commandment. Chassidus explains it a deeper meaning. Meaning, mitzvah has also a meaning in an Aramaic language. Mitzvah is from the word safsa, attachment. When one does a mitzvah, they become attached to the Almighty. So this is a deeper insight in the word mitzvah in general. Tefillin also means connection, gluing together. A person puts on phylacteries, they are basically gluing themselves together, connecting to the Almighty. And as the Zohar says, the straps is like tying a dog. That's what it says. It says it's like tying, limiting that an animal soul should limit itself.
Like a leash?
Leash, yeah.
Wow.
The leash, but basically that this is all, and this the Zohar says it. And that's why the seven strings are basically the 7 character traits. So it's basically everything has significance. In addition to that, as they wrote up in the chiropractic newsletter, that the points where the tefillin are is basically the acupuncture. Where the points are, the nerve system and everything, and where it's placed in behind the head is the main nerve system. This is everything is what they know today. The one that commanded us is aware of all this. And so this is basically, everything is significant. So the Alter Rebbe says, on one hand, it brings a pleasure in a person. Person wants to hear more and more. It's like very interesting, very, very appealing. But it is not the same like the first inyan, which is basically wanting to become closer to the Almighty, and together with wanting, settling back down also. In Chassidus, this is called Rotzi V'Shuv. A Rotzi V'Shuv means a yearning to cling to higher. Then there's a Shuv, a return. What does it mean, a coming and going? Actually, in every person, there is inhaling and exhaling. The inhaling and exhaling is called the Rotzi and Shuv. There is the inhaling, there's the exhaling, which is basically the oxygen. Inhaling, exhaling. This is basically the 2 modes of one is to become trying to get more, and the other one is to settling down. One is a rotzi, running, the other one is shuv, sitting, settling down. The difference is also between prayer and study of the Torah. In prayer, a person wants to come closer to the Almighty. It's a ladder, it's going up. We had it a few weeks ago in the Torah portion, but a few weeks ago already. Actually in about, I would say, 2 months already. Vayetze. Sulam Mutzavarza. The ladder is standing on the ground and its peak is reaching heaven. This is and Sulam is prayer. Sulam, it says, is also Sinai, giving the Torah. So basically, when a person is praying, they're going up. In Kabbalah, you have a lot about it. In the Sidra of the Arizal, other students, that the sections of the prayer are basically the worlds, reflecting the different worlds. It's a ladder, it's 4 steps. We are in Eilam Hasiya, in this physical world, and spiritual level and then the spiritual level of this world. Then we go to Yitzira, then we go to Bria, then we go to Atzilus. The silent prayer, standing for the master, as a servant for the master, is Atzilus. No signal, no nothing. The person stands with respect, can't even motion single, not even speaking about speaking then. It's completely outlawed.
But isn't the whole, don't we, our whole lives have to constantly do this like twofold steps?
Right. It is happening every day.
I mean, it's not something you can, it's not that we should aspire to do only Ratzui. Like, we're always going to be doing Ratzui.
We're doing both. We are, in fact, we are inspired that we should have a Shuv and not just a Rotzi. Because if we have a Rotzi alone, like Nadav Aviyah, the sons of Aaron, they expired.
Right.
Benazai, all of these, the Talmud tells us, they just forgot that they have to settle down. Rabbi Akiva, the famous sage, it was Nichnas B'Shalim, he went in peace and he left in peace. When he went into the garden. This is basically, to be able to balance it and regulate it, that person should remain as a soul in the body.
Didn't you once say that the Tachnun is higher than the Shemon Esrei?
Yeah, okay. I don't want to confuse with this, but basically the Tachnun, the confession after the Shemon Esrei, is a complete nullification, state of nullification. And that's why a person has to sit. It's like falling. It's a different level. And then the person starts landing back down after the ending the prayer is coming back down.
There's also Ratzui B'Shuv like the tool to elevate the physical world, as opposed to, let's say, the Buddhists or other religions that completely abstain from the physical. Then they're only trying to do Ratzui. There's no Shuv.
Right. The Shuv is basically concentrating on the world.
The physical world elevated.
Right. And making this world a dwelling place for Hashem.
Right.
Which actually, this is the reason a person has to settle back down, because the Almighty desired that this world should be a dwelling place for Him. So a person can't just leave the world. Al korcha chatachai. Person is forced to live. Person is forced to die. Actually, it's very interesting. There's an interesting talk from the Rebbe. What does it mean? Is he forced to live? Or is he forced to die?
Against our will of everything.
Both.
Yeah, it's both. But the question is, why did we saying? We're saying both because we're saying each one because he wants the opposite. And all of a sudden we say he's forced to live. Then we say he's forced to die. So the answer is, and here comes a very interesting insight. He's forced to live because the neshama doesn't want to come down here. Once the neshama is here, this is a nice market. She's gaining a lot of commandments, fulfilling commandments, everything. She doesn't want to leave. So that's where the second part comes.
So this is what Yitzchak did after when he came down from the Basadeh.
Right, he was in Gan
He
Eden.
was in Basadeh all the time.
Right, he was in Gan Eden for a few years, till after the Akedah.
He married her.
Right, right. So this is basically how the Alter Rebbe explains it. Now we go on how the Rebbe Rashab, Rab Shalom Ber in Lubavitch, writes the letter to his son, the previous Rebbe, as we mentioned earlier, briefly. Thank you. And what exactly should we focus on when it comes to meditation? And he carries it on a deeper level. I'll read some lines to see to what level Chabad stressed meditation. He says, what we need to exert ourselves in this learning is basically that the ultimate purpose of the learning is to accomplish a positive impression in our souls. Yeshuas means miracles and rescue, in knowing and understanding everything. And what is that and when is that? When we meditate in the topic which we are understanding in godliness through this topic, through this science, through this philosophy. And Dafka, he says, exclusively when we concentrate on that, not only in the learning, and as he says, there's a difference. When a person learns something, they concentrate on the intellectual aspect of the subject. When a person is mizbeinen, as Chassidus explains, means meditation, he's thinking about the godliness that is in that topic. In other words, connecting to the godly aspects and features that are in that topic that he's discussing, that he is concentrating on. So he says, although while he's learning a godly subject, he knows that, and he feels that he's learning a godly subject, and it's Torah of the Almighty. Together with that, he's still connected with something intellectual. He's concentrating on the intellectual aspect of the subject. But when it comes to his beinunus means that he's already preparing for prayer or other things. Then he has to put a greater stress on the feeling that he has to the godliness which is expressed in that philosophy, on that level, and so on and so forth. What is the reason for that? Because basically that's when he can relate to spirituality. It's not like he's just learning a subject. Learning a subject you have everywhere. You have sciences, you have all kinds of different things. Here we're speaking about something more spiritual, that in the subject a person should realize the greatness, the depth there is from godliness in that subject. So therefore this is how he brings himself closer, connecting with godliness.
So when he's doing that, so he's doing Ratzui B'Shuv.
He's doing, on one hand, he's doing a Ratzui that is really connecting to it. On the other hand, he realizes that what does God want? The Almighty wants that he should settle in this world. He shouldn't just